Simon Calder joins us this week to tell us how the weather is changing our holiday booking habits and how the weather's also causing the collapse of the travel industry. Plus, Joe and I will be looking at what the weather has in store for this bank holiday weekend, whether you're here or abroad.
Hello and welcome to the Square Raindrop Easter Special Podcast. I'm Jo Wheeler.
And I'm Steph Galter.
And here we are heading towards the bank holiday weekend, notorious in this country for bringing bad weather. But what will conditions be like, Steffi?
Well, I was just going to say, Joe, it's not going to be an Easter bank holiday long weekend unless the weather's rubbish. But actually, it's not looking all bad. Friday starts pretty ropey in the west, lots of heavy rain there. Better if you're in the eastern parts, if you're one of those lucky people like Joe. And then after that, the rain kind of fizzles out, it kind of gives up. It's like, it's still there. It's still quite cloudy for many people with some lighter rain, but it's not that heavy rain. You'll still be able to get out, just, in wellies.
Now, many people will have planned to travel abroad for the Easter holidays. What kind of weather can they expect?
Well, as you know, I've just come back from the Canary Islands and I did get rather rained on, but that's okay because I learnt to run very quickly when the rain showers arrived. So there'll be more of that in the Mediterranean, running from showers that is, as we head through the long bank holiday weekend. So if you're going abroad and you are hoping for some really nice warm weather, unfortunately, it's probably not going to be. We've got some heavy rain coming in from the west that then goes all the way up through Corsica, Sardinia, Italy, and so most of us at some point are going to see some rain if you are heading abroad.
Now, we've obviously just had some beautiful weather here in the UK, days and days of sunshine and clear blue skies. Despite all the lovely weather, my lawn looks like a meadow because I was sitting in front of the computer following the weather, and also my lawnmower is broken. But it did occur to me, rather than watching the weather, I could become a travel correspondent. Now that sounds like a good job. How do you become one of those?
Sure, perhaps like you two, it was all a terrible accident, went badly wrong. I was born beside the A23 in Crawley, very long time ago, obviously. And I, growing up, realised there was possibly more to the world than Crawley and the A23. So I thought, well, I'll go and investigate. And I started hitchhiking when I was 12 and would go to Brighton because that was the nearest civilized place. And then gradually, I didn't go abroad till I was 14, and that was a school trip for the day to Dieppe. And I just thought, well, abroad looks great, doesn't it? How fantastic. And so I just sort of stumbled on from there. I did a maths degree. I taught maths for a while. I was an engineer for 15 long years. And then in the sort of way that these things probably shouldn't ever happen, I was sort of offered the job of being travel correspondent at The Independent, even though I had clearly no qualifications or aptitude or skills. And I've been staggering on ever since, watching with great bewilderment as the travel world falls apart. But it's still a very good thing to be able to travel.
So, Simon, you just said then something that made my skin go a little bit bumpy. I have a 10-year-old child, and you said from the age of 12 you were hitchhiking. This makes me a little nervous. I guess things were different.
No, things were much more dangerous then. Seriously. I still hitchhike. I haven't since last week, but that was quite good. I got the best lift ever in terms of international hitchhiking 2 weeks ago. Can I tell you about that?
Absolutely.
It's a minor record, but it was still a record that I set. Okay, so I'm in Schengen in Luxembourg, the beautiful village that is after which the Schengen area is named Frontier Free Travel. And the reason it's named is because it's where Luxembourg, France and Germany converge. And I went for a lovely walk up into the hills, into Germany, around into France. And I thought, crikey, I'm going to miss my free bus because, of course, all public transport in Luxembourg is free. So I better start hitching. And I got a lift just inside the French border with a very nice chap. Didn't have much time to find out about his life story. He drove me through Germany and over the bridge into Schengen. So 3 countries in 4 minutes. There we are. But to go back to the idea of hitchhiking, it was different times in the sense that you would. I mean, all sorts of things happened. I went to the Isle of Wight Pop Festival when I was 14, and it was just kind of, well, you'll probably be all right. And guess what? I was. So, yeah. And while the travel industry has continued to fall apart in increasingly spectacular fashion, it's also the case that travel is so much safer than it ever was. Plane crashes, I mean, they are terrible tragedies when they occur. But frankly, the last time there was a fatal accident involving a British jet aircraft with passengers was 1989. So amazing safety there. And the main problem for anybody traveling abroad is road safety, and that has thankfully in many places got safer, and including in the UK. So we are sort of living in the best of times.
Why do you say the travel industry is falling apart?
Because, and look, it's partly, I don't want to blame both of you. I mean, I don't want to blame either of you really, but the weather is obviously causing massive problems. I mean, we've just had those terrible floods in Lanzarote. I'm going to repeat a tabloid claim that there was a month's worth of rain in a few hours. So weather is increasingly a problem, particularly across Europe, when you've got such a high density of air traffic. If you've got pockets of thunder here and there, well, you will know. I mean, I'm not saying you put them there, but it does cause all kinds of problems. And but then there's all the other stuff that goes wrong, IT related problems, all manner of issues that the power goes off at Heathrow. And suddenly 250,000 people have their travel plans torn up. Honestly, there is stuff happening at a rate now where you get kind of a year's worth of news in a week. So it keeps you on my toes, and I guess also keeps me sort of gainfully employed.
Guess where I was last week, Simon? Not Lanzarote.
Well,
but very close.
but one of the Canaries.
Yes, I was in the Singing Canary in the south. I was Gran Canaria. Very nice it was too, except you had to have very good legs to run every time one of those showers came overhead, because those showers were a little bit powerful.
But that's that. If you, I mean, I hate to trespass on your meteorological territory, but you're on a volcanic island in the middle of the Atlantic. With respect, Your Honour.
That is very true. It's interesting if you drive across the island, though, because the rain normally comes from the north, and in the south it's as barren as. So you drive up the mountain one side in the south where most of the tourists are, and there's nothing. It's just volcanic rock and a couple of buildings stuck like sort of sea urchins on the side of a rock. And then you go down the other side, it's totally green. So clearly that's where all the locals live and all the produce is made.
Oh, well, how lovely! But I mean, tell me a bit more about the floods in Lanzarote, because it looks to me, and I haven't been out there since, but it absolutely had a go at Costa Teguise on the kind of southeastern shore, and TUI have had to close 3 of their hotels. It's really messy. And how unusual was it, and how damaging? And are we just going to get used to more stuff like that?
Well, climate change is the big question, isn't it? The climate is warming. It does look like the weather is changing. What we're expecting and what we're kind of seeing is more stuck kind of weather patterns. So the high pressure, once it goes over the UK, kind of got a bit stuck, didn't it? And we had, a whole week of absolutely beautiful weather. Well, all the rain had to go somewhere, and it headed off to Spain and Portugal and down to the Canary Islands. So that's why we're seeing a little bit more in the way of similar weather all at the same time. So if the weather's hot here, the rain has to go somewhere.
Well, that's a fascinating thing. So that's actually a true fact, that you've got all this rain sitting around in clouds, thinking, right, whose parade are we going to rain on? And literally, oh well, there's a patch of high pressure over Britain, so let's just wander around till we find someone we can annoy, and that'll be Steph.
Yeah, that's exactly how it works. So high pressures are large, flabby things, a bit like most people after a Sunday Christmas lunch. They just don't want to move anywhere in a great hurry, so everything has to go around the sides.
I did wonder what you were going to say there when you're talking about large, flabby things. But Simon, I used to live in Portugal, so I used to witness this phenomenon all the time. So if Britain and Ireland were having nice weather, then the weather was awful for Spain and Portugal, and obviously vice versa, which meant that obviously through the springs and the summer, Spain and Portugal had glorious weather. Now, so far this year, they've had terrible conditions. I've got friends there, I've got family there, who report that it's just dreadful. And even looking ahead with the long range forecast, which I know Steph doesn't like, it doesn't look like things are going to improve anytime soon. Now, obviously, at some point, you realise that weather and travel were intrinsically linked. Well, what happens when we get these long spells of lovely weather for Britain and Ireland, but then people have planned holidays? The Easter weekend's coming up, people are going abroad, and right at the second, I suspect that what they find at the other end isn't going to be much fun.
No, and that's the chance you take. So, a few things there. First of all, the booking horizons are getting much shorter on average, and I kind of think that's a good thing because you've no idea what's going to be happening. But conversely, a large part of the value of any holiday is anticipation. And so I dare say, Steph, you knew you were going to Gran Canaria, you booked it a few months ahead, and you thought, great, I can just picture myself on the beach or driving through the hills, whatever it is. So there's a couple of things going on there. But look, I think maybe the British, because we do have such a mix of weather, we just kind of shrug and just accept it. Although, of course, in these ultra connected days, it's all too easy to just go on your phone and say, oh crikey, it's 25 and sunny in Bognor Regis, and it's certainly not here on the beautiful Algarve.
Are the foreign resorts getting more geared up for these wet events, the extremes of the rain? And also, I found living out in Portugal that there was very little for people to do when the weather was bad, whereas, of course, we're all ready for it here.
Yeah, and actually that's a key thing for the resurgence of the British seaside, which I hope is kind of on its way, coming up with more and more things that will appeal to people when the weather is mixed, shall we say. But look, if you are the Algarve, you're there because you've got golf courses, you've got more or less year-round sunshine. You've never really needed to have amazing centre parks type locations. And one reason centre parks is such a huge success across Northern Europe is because it insulates you from the weather. So I no, I can't see. I mean, we've got 30th anniversary of Port Aventura this coming week. Fantastic Spanish theme park. But that was more kind of, oh, well, people are going to be coming here and let's extract some more cash from them. And well, they've done very well indeed. And I can't wait to go back and have another few spins on Dragon Khan.
Can I ask, Simon, when have you had your travel disrupted due to the weather? Like, what's the worst that you can remember? It must have got you at some
Oh.
point.
Oh yeah, all the time. My goodness. How long have we got? So I'm sort of trying to work backwards. Well, you've got this perfect storm this summer of clearly increasingly disruptive weather combined with accelerating air travel combined with not enough air traffic controllers. And so therefore, yeah, I mean, I'm assuming these days, if my flight is an hour late, I will count that as a win. But in terms of not ending up where you need to be, well, I've mostly had flights diverted. And in many cases, amazingly, it's worked out really well. I will give you a few examples. So I was in Palma de Mallorca, couldn't get a flight anywhere. It was, end of the season, everybody trying to get around. The only flight I could get was to Manchester. I happen to live in London. And that was, you know, I thought, well, crikey, that's a real pain spending half a day coming back from there. Anyway, we flew around over the Peak District for a while, and then the pilot said, well, we're going to land in Birmingham, hooray, which is 75 minutes away from London. I've tried to fly to Baden-Baden in Germany's beautiful Black Forest. Now, the thing is, the airport, former US Air Force base, maybe Canadian. I was going to say they're the same thing, but I'm not going to say that. That it's right next to the Rhine, so they've got morning fogs, and I've tried to get in there twice. And the first time we flew around a bit, and then he said, "Right, we're going to Basel." And we got halfway to Basel, and he said, "No, it's cleared, and we're going back." And then no, it hadn't cleared, and we
Oh
went back to
no.
Basel in Switzerland, and that was fine because I like Basel. And then the next time I was trying to get there, and they said, "Oh, we're going to go to Strasbourg," and actually Strasbourg's got better transport links than Baden Airport. So I thought, well, that's a win as well. So two Ryanair flights which have ended up in the wrong country. But look, for goodness sake, if you're flying, you just have to roll with it and be prepared for anything.
Now, Stephanie and I have both got a couple of horror stories in terms of travel. Many years ago, I was working abroad and I managed to get on the wrong plane. Now, that was unfortunate.
How can you even do
Um,
that? Don't they have checks?
Probably not back then. I mean, I was pretty much knocking on the pilot's door when he was wearing goggles. It was that long ago. You see how it is. But also, Steffi had a bit of a passport nightmare. In fact, I can put my hand on my heart and say she's never going to be my travelling companion. It all goes wrong.
Yes, so as well as having a very bumpy ride back from the Canaries recently and it raining on me quite a bit, before that I was caught up in the Nats fiasco when all that went down and was
oh,
stranded somewhere. And more
yeah.
recently, just a year ago, it turned out my passport was in date, but it was over 10 years. So I was one of those very unlucky people that was caught that way. So I guess the question to you, Simon, is with passports, how many people are being affected and being caught by these tricky little niche rules that there are?
Oh my goodness. Well, unfortunately, it's a very well. Of course, we can all rejoice in the fact that this is a great product of Brexit, one of the many, many success stories that we associate with leaving the European Union. And phew, those bureaucrats in Brussels, they crumbled when we said we want to be treated as third country nationals, the same as people from Venezuela and Tonga. We want to be subject to new and complicated passport rules. We want to be limited to 90 days stay in any 180 days. And them Europeans said, "Are you sure?" And we said, "Yes, we are." And they said, "Right ho." And that's what we got exactly what we asked for. Now, there are two conditions. As you know, your passport can't have had its 10th birthday on the day you travel. And furthermore, there must be at least 3 months remaining on the day you come back. And I'm sorry, Steph, that you found out the hard way. The number is, I hope, slowly decreasing. It became absolutely apparent at the start of 2021 that this was going to be a huge problem once we were allowed to travel again, because we at that stage then officially left the European Union. And what made it far, far worse was the UK government and an awful lot of airlines and travel companies that should have known better saying that, making up their own rules. And this is appallingly still happening. Just
It's
been
still
speaking to a
happening.
woman. Oh yeah, look, I've got stories galore. Every week, somebody will say, "Oh, I was flying," typically on EasyJet, actually. This lady going for a family birthday weekend to Amsterdam with her son and everything, and husband, and they all turn up at Stansted, and some member of ground staff says you can't travel. Now the husband said, "Well, of course you can, because here's the rules," and and they just said, "No, you're not traveling." And EasyJet once again sent me something saying, "Yeah, this shouldn't have happened. We're going to retrain our ground staff." Yeah, but this is happening every week. Even worse than that, the Norwegian airline Norwegian allowed a passenger who doesn't wish to be named on a flight from Edinburgh to Oslo, whereupon she was arrested, held in police custody, photographed, fingerprinted, marched onto a plane and deported because the Norwegian police didn't understand the rules. It is absolutely scandalous, and but ultimately it all comes down to that happy event of leaving the European Union, and I'm sure everybody is delighted that we did that because well, frankly, we're basking in benefits.
Un- Unfortunately, we're not basking in sunshine at the moment. And here we are, the middle of the Easter holidays. And as the big weekend approaches, are we looking at travel mayhem?
Oh yeah. Okay, so where do you want to start? So on the roads, I've got the 11:45 on Thursday on the M25 clockwise from Gatwick going round towards Heathrow and the M40 to Birmingham. That's going to be the worst predictable jams, but of course they can pop up anywhere. The railways from Saturday to Easter Monday, the London Euston Station is going to be closed. That's the hub for the West Coast Main Line to the West Midlands, Northwest England, and Southern Scotland. Various other pieces of work elsewhere. And then in the skies, well, Good Friday is going to be the really, really tough day for people travelling anywhere. And with add that to the air traffic control problems that we've got, throw in a bit of weather, and I'm afraid it's going to be an absolute misery. But the main thing is most people will get where they need to be and they will have a wonderful time.
Your travel information has been invaluable. Do you want the really good news now? Because Steffi can tell us what the bank holiday weather is going to do.
Oh, thank goodness.
Yes, so the bank holiday weather is a changeable feast. Whatever you have at the beginning of it probably won't be what you have by the end. So Friday does start pretty wet, particularly in the west, and then gradually it dries up a little bit during the week. So during the long weekend. So I don't think it's going to be a complete washout, but at the same time, you are likely to get wet at some point.
Simon, thank you so very much indeed. Delighted to have you on and very much enlightened by all your travel information.
Oh dear. Well, anyway, look, I do hope that everybody has the weather they need, that they travel as seamlessly as possible. And do remember, this is the industry of human happiness, travel, not weather. And it brings great joy to a large number of people, especially me, because I spend my entire life on holiday pretending to work.